although I love being an engineer, I love the work I was doing, I wanted diversification in my income. And
Hmm.
so that inspired me to turn to learning about alternative investments, learning about investing in real estate, about the whole idea of buying and building assets.
Welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow Podcast. I'm Gary Wilson, your host. I'm so glad to have you back listening to the show or watching if that's the case. We've got a great guest today, Fred Moskowitz, all the way from beautiful city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where I've been many times. And if you haven't been to the city, especially if you haven't been there for like a generation, you need to go back and visit. Philadelphia has gone through a major transformation, demographically, financially. I mean, it's just a great place. It's been attracting a lot of millennials in the last generation, and for a good reason, too. So, in any case, without further ado, Fred, welcome aboard, man. I appreciate you taking your time to share with us today.
Thank you, Gary. It's great to be here.
I was glad to have you. Say, if you wouldn't mind, I know we were speaking before the recording here. Would you mind sharing with people a little bit about yourself? Like how did you get into the business of dealing with notes? Most of us are starting off in life wanting to, you know,
Yeah,
be a pilot or something like that, but
sure.
was there, if you could tell us a little bit about that story, that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I started out in life having a long and successful career working as a computer engineer. And I
Hmm.
spent many years working at tech companies, startup companies, and I love the environment. I came up right during some exciting times. We had the dot-com boom days, and then that was immediately followed by the bursting of the dot-com bubble and September 11th terrorist attacks. So there was a lot of turmoil there. And what I saw and what I experienced was that the tech industry is a very cyclical environment.
Hmm.
And I learned firsthand that I was taking on this huge risk by relying on my paycheck as my single source of income. Now, think
Hmm.
about this, Gary. Like, I asked when I talk to investors all the time, I ask, how risky is your paycheck? Right. And people say, what do you mean? Paycheck's not risky, but it is. We're always subject to inflation or layoffs or economic downturns, the company going under, declaring bankruptcy. I mean, all of these things can happen. And my experience was that though I loved being an engineer, I loved the work I was doing, I wanted diversification in my income. And
Hmm.
so that inspired me to turn to learning about alternative investments, learning about investing in real estate, about the whole idea of buying and building assets so
Hmm.
that even though I continue working as a computer engineer, I was building up cash flow and other streams of income. Now, after being involved in real estate for a number of years, I learned about mortgage note investing, which is really it's a niche area of real estate. And what it is where you're actually buying existing mortgages on the secondary market. And what I find is that a lot of real estate investors, when they think of a note and a mortgage, they think about it from the perspective of being the borrower and not as
Hmm.
being the lender. But when you go in and buy that note, you're stepping into the shoes of the bank. And what happens is that you transition from being the one making the monthly payments to being the one receiving the monthly payments. And that's
Hmm.
very powerful.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's a great way to be active in a form of investing that should be a part of everybody's portfolio. I mean, I'm not against the stock market and mutual funds and gold and silver. There's all kinds of ways to invest, and I think you should have a diversified portfolio. And this, in my opinion, should be part of it. I've done this before. I've been on both ends of it. In fact,
Yeah.
I just had a strategy, we call them strategy calls, with one of my agents earlier, one of her clients who has a big chunk of land out in California, beautiful, right in the Bay Area. So it's expensive. and the owner lives in California, or sorry, lives in Alaska, and she wasn't familiar with, notes and thought, well, that doesn't sound, is it okay to do that? What are the taxes? Is it legal? All these kind of things. I'm thinking we just need to educate her. So I gave my
Yeah.
agent some information to share with her to educate her on the owner, because remember, what I love about notes is you can do things 1,000 different ways. You can do a straight monthly payment, simple interest. You can do it amortized. You can get paid a chunk of money this year before December 31st, and then delay another chunk next year and another chunk the year after, and maybe after 3 years, you give the owner of the note, or the payer, excuse me, an option to
Yeah.
refinance or pay off. So,
There,
anyway, sorry to
there's
ramble there,
many,
but it's a fascinating. So, go ahead and take it from there if you don't mind, Dave.
yeah, there's
Okay, I'm
many
sorry. Go ahead.
tax strategies for
Hmm.
sure that can be leveraged. So the example you just mentioned about the person that had land and they were wondering about selling it and using a note, there's a huge tax strategy there. People just don't know about it, and that's why there's always those questions that come up. Hey, is this legal? I've never heard of this. All of that. But you know what? That one, that example is right in the tax code. If you look up in the IRS publications, what's called
Hmm.
an installment sale for
Hmm.
real estate, if the transaction's structured properly, and of course you want to work with qualified professionals to help you with getting that
Hmm.
set up, you do an installment sale, and now you can spread out your capital gains over the term of that note. So if you set it up for a 10-year term, imagine the power of, instead of selling a property and having all the capital gains tax due in 1 year, you can
Hmm.
spread it out over 10 years. It's
Yeah.
only due as you're receiving it, receiving the
Hmm.
payments. So that can be really powerful for tax planning. So there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of benefits there that can be utilized. But like I said, you talk to your CPA, you talk to your tax advisors, and have them help you and provide the guidance that's specific for your situation. But it can be a very powerful strategy.
Yeah. But so let's say you meet someone like this owner who's unfamiliar with this whole part of the business. Um, what's what are three things that they should know, or is there a resource they can go to learn about them being the owner of a note, and taking advantage of some of these benefits? Is and anywhere they can go and gather information, even talk to you, that type of thing? Did you know that you can participate in class every Monday? We call it Monday Night Live, 7 p.m. Eastern, with me and dozens of other investor agents from around the country, in fact, the world. Every Monday, totally free. No selling, no recruiting, just straight up education on anything and everything in real estate. And we have a lot of good guests coming on once or twice a month, bringing in expertise on subjects like how to buy a house with crypto. Okay. How about them apples? What about AI? How's AI affecting our business? How about the metaverse, blockchain processing? We're already using it in title work. So come on to Monday Night Live. Be ready to take notes and ask questions, because it's live and engaging, and you get to participate by asking questions and meeting others. So we'll see you there. Go to GaryRealEstateWithGaryWilson.com. Click on the resource tab, drop down, and you'll see Monday Night Live. And in there, you can see one of the most recent classes. But more importantly, you can register for class as many as you want going up to like the end of the year, I believe. So, in any case, do that. We'll see you on Monday Night Live. Look forward to meeting you in person. Take care.
Yeah, absolutely. Learning in general about note investing, I would say there's a number of great books out there. I would start with that. If you have a very specific situation, like you're selling a property and you want to structure financing around the sale of that, then I would say you need to consult with your um, tax advisors, your CPAs, because it can be very specific to your scenario. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there are numerous workshops and seminars available. Books is a great place to start. I always recommend that. Um,
Hmm.
but this is something that is little known about. People don't talk about it. People just don't know about it. And so that's part of my mission, Gary. This is why I wrote my book about note investing, was really to get the word out, to help spread some ideas
Hmm.
and bring it to a wider audience.
Yeah. And that's the book. I think I was looking this up. It's the Little Green Book of Notes Investing. Is that the
Y-
book?
Yes, the Little Green Book of Note Investing. That's correct. It's
Awesome.
available. Yeah, it's available right on Amazon. And what I set out to do when I wrote that book was really
Hmm.
to provide a high level overview of note investing, the industry as a whole, how to get started. Um, there's some different ways to get started, get involved. We also cover how to perform due diligence and analysis.
Hmm.
And also, one of my favorite topics is how to invest in notes using your retirement account funds. Because let's face it, a lot of people have money sitting in an old 401k or an IRA,
Hmm.
and they don't know what to do with it. They think a lot of people think, oh, I can only invest in
Yeah.
stocks and mutual funds. And, that's what Wall Street wants you to think. But in reality, there's a whole lot of options available to you. And one of them is mortgage notes. Yes.
Yeah. So what are the mechanics? Let's say I own a property and I've owned it for 30 years. My mortgage is paid off. Hmm. And someone approaches me and says, "Hey, I'd like to buy your house. Would you be willing to carry the note?" And if I didn't know any better, the first thing I would say was, "What does that mean?"
Yeah.
Because I'm used to them going to Wells Fargo to get a mortgage, and then I get a check at closing from the title company. But where does what path does this go down, and what does that look like if you're speaking 101 level?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great question. I would say the first thought or first thing to think about is if you were to sell the property and the buyer paid you with all cash, maybe they got bank financing, and so you would be sitting there with this pile of cash. What are you going to do with it?
Hmm.
Do you have something you're going to invest it in? Are you
Yeah.
going to lay all the cash out on your dining room table and look at
Mhm.
it and admire it? I mean, what are you going to do with that money? You
Yeah.
should do something because it's being eroded immediately by
Oh,
inflation,
yeah.
and especially of recent times, it's been ramping up. And so maybe you're going to buy another property, maybe you're going to invest in something else. But
Okay.
one thing to consider is if you sell that and carry financing for the buyer, the end result is that you don't own the property anymore. You have a secured lien on title on that property, and you're receiving cash flow. You're receiving a
Hmm.
payment stream for X number of years to come. And so maybe you earned cash flow from the property when you owned it and you had it rented out, it was producing income, but you can
Hmm.
sell it, create a note, and you're still earning cash flow. And that's really nice. It's
Yeah.
after you don't own the property anymore. And so that's a nice asset to have
Yeah.
in your
Well, the other thing
portfolio.
too is you've basically generated a stream of cash flow, a revenue stream, but you don't have all the responsibilities of actually still owning the property. You don't have to worry about refrigerators and stoves and roofs and
Yeah.
toilets and sinks and overgrown
Yeah.
shrubbery and termites. And I mean, and I'm one to tell you, I can tell you from experience, those kind of responsibilities will definitely add up. The more properties you have, if
Yeah.
you're an investor, it just piles up. And with a note, your only responsibility is to basically, you know, cash the check. That's it.
Yeah. Think
You know.
think about this. I've experienced this as an investor, and I speak with so many investors. Think about this. How many properties do you feel like you could own comfortably and still maintain somewhat of a decent quality of life? For some
Mhm.
people, it might be three or four properties. For others, it might be 10 or 20.
Hmm.
Do you know any guys or gals that own a portfolio of 100 properties, single family properties, rentals? I
Yeah.
mean, it,
Yeah.
it yeah, they can be really successful, but
Hmm.
there's deterioration in their quality of life from living in that environment. It's a
Yeah.
chaos. So here's the thing. I see this all the time. Investors that have owned property for a long time, right? Let's say I'm talking about owning it for 10, 20 years, maybe 30. Maybe the depreciation schedule ran out completely. You owned it that long. There's no more
Yeah.
depreciation left, right? So, um, at this point, investors are tired, right? Tired of
Yeah.
renovations and repairs and probably changed the roof multiple times and all this. So, something that really is powerful is selling the property. And yes, you'll have a tax hit when you do that, but then taking the proceeds of that sale and
Hmm.
deploying that into mortgage notes, whether you buy individual notes or maybe you invest in a note fund that's managed for you. There's a lot of different options, but now that
Yeah.
generates cash flow. A lot of times the cash flow is um, higher than when they own the property
Yeah.
because of the equity position, right? And so it can be really powerful because when you buy a mortgage note, you're putting the full power of your capital to work.
Hmm.
And so that can be a real game changer. And many new note investors are surprised to see how the cash flow improves when they
Hmm.
redeployed their capital into notes. It's so much more improved than when it was in the real estate itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I've got a lot of gray hair because I used to be one of those guys that had a portfolio of 100
I
units.
don't even have gray hair. Yeah.
Yeah, we got both affected. It always affects the hair. Well, it turns whiter, it goes away,
Yeah.
for both. But
Yep.
what's interesting is I know people that their entire game plan is here's what to do. They'll start off. I met my first investor who did this in Alabama. He would only buy new construction. He would build new homes, rent them out because he has a 10-year builder warranty on the property from footer to rooftop. So he's got almost no maintenance costs for 10 years. It's a single family home, so the tenants pay all the bills, and he just has to pay taxes and insurance. They cut the grass and everything. But in 10 years, what he does is he tells them, he said, look, you've been here 10 years. I'm going to make you a deal you can't refuse. I'm going to make you an owner and I'm going to be your bank. You're going to borrow the money from me to buy this house. So you're right. He still gets cash flow, right? He
Yep.
has the money coming in on the note, but the people have been here 10 years. They already act like the owners. They've already been behaving like owners. So he's got an easy transition. It's like he's building these annuities for himself, but then he also takes that excess cash flow and lends it out again
Yeah.
to the cash flow he has. He lends it out. He has a line of credit to use. I just think it's an ingenious model because he can go on cruises whenever he wants. He goes golfing whenever he wants. He's never getting a phone call because of the neighbor's dog barking or whatever, anything going bad like that. you know. So
Yeah, that's powerful.
yeah.
That idea of constantly redeploying your capital in
Hmm.
cash, that's known as the velocity of money, and that's
Yeah.
really powerful. And that's the idea for us as investors. We always want to be putting our money to work for us. And so
Hmm.
I always like to talk about the idea of, hey, um, treat each of your dollars as an employee working on your behalf, and you send
Hmm.
them out into the world and they do work, and then they come back to you. And if you did a good job, they'll come back to you with friends, right? More than what you started with. But that's the
Yeah.
whole idea, is putting your money to work for you.
Hmm. Yeah. I agree 100%. Something I saw mentioned is leveraging, let's say you have a self-directed IRA, okay?
Yep.
And you've got you have assets inside that IRA. How can that be used also to do the same thing? Can you lend money from assets inside the IRA, or do you borrow against that and lend out the borrowed funds so you have a spread, or what kind of strategies have you seen there?
So with the retirement accounts, I think that's a real powerful strategy.
Hmm.
You can lend out of your self-directed accounts.
Hmm.
You can originate notes, or you can purchase notes outright. Either one. If you're an investor with a good network, you may be familiar with doing private lending, and you have relationships with borrowers that you like to work with, and that's great. That's really powerful. But also, you can buy existing notes that were bank originated and own
Hmm.
those in your IRA.
Hmm.
Or another option is you can invest in a note fund with your IRA capital, and now the fund managers are responsible for finding notes, buying notes, maintaining the portfolio, and for you as the investor, it's truly passive.
Hmm.
They're paying out a return, and so this is a great strategy, because note investing is something that generates a lot of tax liability. And unfortunately, there's no deductions or
Hmm.
depreciation or anything like that. So if you're able to do it in an account that's tax advantage, like a
Hmm.
traditional IRA, or even better, if it's a Roth,
Yeah.
then none of your profits are subject to taxes, um, which is really powerful. Like in a Roth account, there's no
Yeah.
tax due at all, which is great. And so that's a very powerful combination, and I always like to talk about that
Hmm.
with investors. Is, hey, can you do this transaction in your retirement account? Do you have the means to do that? And if the answer is
Hmm.
yes, I always encourage people, look into it and see if it makes sense for you. And what I found is, in the majority of cases, it does.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, it's a sort of a offshoot from IRAs. What about like the health savings account? Is that something I don't know anything? I've never even had one,
Yeah,
but I've heard that mentioned over. That's something else that you can use and leverage for
absolutely.
this.
Yeah,
Okay.
health savings account behaves very much like a self-directed IRA as far
Hmm.
as what you can and can't do. But absolutely, you can have an HSA and self-direct that, and
Hmm.
utilize that to invest in notes, invest in real estate, to do private lending. You can do all those things. What I love about the HSA is really powerful, because there's a triple tax treatment. You get a tax deduction on the money you put in, you contribute, and then you could grow that inside the account tax free. And then when you withdraw, it's also tax free. And so that's really powerful. It's almost like the benefit of a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA put together. Now, the
Okay.
limitation is, when you withdraw, it has to be for medical expenses. But let's
Uh,
face it, as we get older, as we move along in life, our medical expenses, they're going to increase. We're going to need more
yeah.
medical care and have more. And so it's a great way to set money aside for that,
Yeah.
because as we get older, it becomes more of a significant uh, expense for us.
Yeah. So now, as far as taxes go, I guess if you do, let's say you're the note holder. Either you've initiated the note or you bought a note from somewhere else, and it's not inside one of these vehicles. It's not inside a health savings account. It's not inside an IRA. It's just you're out of
Yeah.
your own, you know, regular bank account. The only thing you're really taxed on is the interest coming to you. Is that taxed at normal income rates, or is it considered an asset that's
It's
um
It's taxed as interest income.
Okay.
Yeah. And additionally, when you buy the note at a discount, let's say you bought a note, $100,000 note for 80,000. Let's say you paid 80,000 for it, and there you are sitting there collecting payments on this note. And then 1 year later, the borrower pays off the $100,000 note. So now you have this 20,000 gain that you get, and
Hmm.
that's going to be subject to capital gains. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a mix that gets
Hmm.
calculated, but that's how it is with mortgage notes. So it the
Right.
tax liability can be significant.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I know we're going to get short on time here pretty quickly, but I want to still a lot of questions I have, and if you wouldn't mind, any examples or case studies you can think of that would be a great uh, learning experience for people listening, because people love stories, and that's what I call a case study. It's a real life example. Um, Maybe one that was simple, and maybe another one that was maybe more complex or had like a multiple payout over multiple of years, things like that. Anything that comes to mind? I see you smiling, so hopefully there's some good ones there in the
Yeah,
past. You know.
I'm thinking about this. I have a
Mhm.
friend, an investor friend,
Mhm.
Helen, who she was a hardcore real estate investor, owned these properties for decades, and
Mhm.
really a savvy investor. And
Mhm.
she eventually got to a point in life where she said, I'm getting tired of have too many properties. I want to simplify things a little bit. And I said, Helen, why don't you, if you're going to sell properties, look at your portfolio and say, which are the ones that give me the most headaches, right? And
Yeah.
for any investor, there's always a couple that come to mind,
Oh yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Like that consistently cause problems, or there's something going on. Anyway, she sold four properties. She sold these four properties. She
Mhm.
said, "Yeah, I'm done with especially this one house. I renovated it for the last time. It's the third time she rehabbed the property. She owned it
Oh
that long,
yeah.
over time. So she rehabbed it once more and then put it up for sale. And so she sold four properties and took all the proceeds from that and then bought notes,
Hmm. Okay.
right? Because she needed the income in her retirement years. So she bought notes and found that, wow, now the cash flow coming from those notes was way more than the cash flow that the rentals were producing back when she
Right.
owned those four properties. And so she was super happy with that.
Yeah.
And it was a way that she um, simplified her life. That was her goal, right? She wanted to simplify things. However, she still needed that income to live in her retirement years. And so
Yeah.
that's a great strategy. And I love that example because this is something that anyone can do. Any
Yeah.
investor has options available to get involved in note investing, whether it's buying individual notes and creating a portfolio or investing in a fund and getting truly passive income. There are many options out there. It's just a matter of talking to the right people and seeing what options are available. And I'll tell you something. Note investing, it doesn't get talked about enough, I feel like. And so that was one
Mhm.
of the reasons I wrote the book. It was really to get the word out there and share some of these ideas with people.
Yeah. Now that's the Little Green Book of Note Investing.
Yes.
Okay, good. And how about a website? I saw fredmoskowitz.com.
Yeah, thank you.
And Yeah.
Yeah, I love when investors reach out, connect with me. If you would love to connect with me, learn more about my work, you can visit fredmoskowitz.com. That's my website. I have a some information there. I have a special report about note investing. I'm happy to send out to anyone
Mhm.
that would like to request it. And if you'd like a little bit of an easier spelling of my name, you can visit giftfromfred.com. It'll take you right to my website. And so I always love connecting with investors. You can send me a message on there and,
Yeah.
building relationships. It's a big part of what we do as investors.
Yeah. Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, networking, I tell you, that's at least for me over time is turned into being the most important part of my business. It's the I mean, I've got a database of like 70,000 people, and all of whom I've either met in person, like at a conference or a class I taught, a
Wow.
Zoom call, what have you. It's over a lot of years, but the thing is many of them. I mean, I'm probably about 5% actually, first name basis, and we would see each other and we would know each other. Now, again, the guys, this was over like 38 years, but what Fred just mentioned, I couldn't think about anything else that was that important, and it doesn't cost you anything other than time and energy and
Yeah.
effort to go join your local apartment association, join a local investor club. And so, are there clubs? Are there networking groups for people that specialize in notes, or just want to get together with others? And
Yeah, definitely. There definitely are. There are several really good conferences and events around the country that take
Mhm,
place annually. I'll tell you, the note investing industry, it's a
mhm,
small world. We all know each other.
mhm.
Um, and yeah, it's really powerful to be able to get together periodically and meet up in person. And yeah, I always love attending conferences and events, and it's a big part of what we do.
Yeah, yep. Hey, now on uh, the website, so the gift from Fred, is that the same site as fredmoskowitz.com, or is
It
it just a
is.
different URL? Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a redirect. Yeah, so we'll send you right to my website.
And can people get the book on there?
There's a link to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It'll
Okay.
go link to Amazon. So ultimately
Yeah,
you're buying
I
it
do the
on
same thing.
Amazon.
They're kind of funny about us selling our own books on our own websites when we have an account with them. I don't know all the legalities, but um, I guess it's best just to let them do what they do, So, um, but how about contact information? Is there an email on there, or do you have a
There's a
like a
contact. Yeah, there's a contact
gotcha.
form. So if someone wanted to send a message, you want to send a message to me, it'll get to me. My
Okay,
staff will handle it and will get to me.
okay. Are you actively looking for people now to buy notes from, or to have them buy notes that you have access to? Is that part of
We're
the
we're always in the mode of looking for notes to buy and selling notes. It's ongoing all the time, 100%. Um,
yeah.
Yeah, it's like any other type of investing. There are always lots of opportunities out there,
Mhm.
and it's a matter of being positioned appropriately to benefit from them. But yeah, we're always looking for notes on an ongoing basis. We're
Okay.
buying every month. We're buying and selling notes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, I really appreciate you sharing your time with us today. I mean, you definitely brought a lot of gold nuggets and a wealth of information. I like the fact that you have a place for people to go to, your website. Gift from Fred is the easy one to remember, but Fred Moskowitz, and everybody listening, if you're not driving, you can write this down. It's easy. It's Moskowitz. Fred Moskowitz from the city of brotherly love. So look up Fred. Go to the website. I highly encourage you to get the book. I'll be doing the same thing myself. And if you could please leave a warm review for the podcast. I mean, these guys that come on, they're doing it for free. We don't pay them, they don't pay me. And so your reviews really help us go a long way to getting the podcast in as many people's computers as possible. So we really do appreciate that. Um, Fred, we appreciate you. Hopefully I'll catch up with you. I don't be surprised if I look you up before next time I go to Philly. I've got my niece is there, of course, and it's only about
I'd
4
love
hours
that.
from where I am. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's great. I'd love that.
yeah,
Thank you.
you got it. So, well, listen, guys, we'll appreciate you listening and watching. God bless you and your loved ones, and we will see you on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.